Wi-Fi's been really dodgy with me again. So, I have no idea how long this will last. Because it looks pretty sketch at the minute. And I'm not entirely sure how to fix that. We'll see if opening the windows helps. I don't know why it would, but I'll try it. Okay. Coolio. Right. Back to this again, I suppose. So, I need to remember what I was doing last. I think I was looking at patterning the thigh out, because I'd done the calf, for the most part. Are you telling me that camera has frozen? Son of a... Right, hang on. Yeah, no it has. Epic. Okay, bear with. I can fix this. Bear with. No, I have to be here still. Okay, bear with. This one... Yeah. This one. Why are you not picking up on that? Okay, let me disconnect it and reconnect it. The universal way of fixing literally any technical problem ever. Come on. Come on. You know you want to. Okay. Device detected, that's a plus. Imagine if everything just worked. Wouldn't that be truly nuts? Okay, cool. It's working, but it refuses to focus. Notice me? Notice. Continue to notice. Okay. Let's try this again. So, this is where I left off. I had a thing. I need to make another thing. Because I had this and I had the patterns for the thing. I'd also said at the time I needed to go get a plastic wallet to keep the patterns in. To the surprise of literally no one, I never did that. So, cool. One day I will not be myself. But until then, I guess I'm just stuck with this. So let me angle this back round again. And then, that was it. I also had the knee that I was looking at, which I know works, but I'm going to have to figure out how to slot it into there. So I think what I want to do next is pattern out the thigh, and then faff accordingly. So, if I know that all of these were shin bits, yeah, shins and knees and stuff, so I'll stick all of these off to one side for now, and then work on the thigh pattern and see where that goes. So all of these can live over here for the minute. Cool. Notebook I will need at some point, I'm sure. And then I think I'd established that I was running out of foam scraps, because I went through all my scraps, and I chucked out all of the ones that were pointless to keep. So now all I have left are ones that I can pull pieces from, but it's also going to depend how big they are. So I will see how lucky I get, because a lot of these are considerably smaller, so I'm probably not going to manage to get much from a lot of these, and I'll just have to bust into the big roll that I've got, which I hate, but it is what it is. So, if these are all the scraps I have, what pieces am I looking at here? Got that, that, So what can I fit on any of these? And then that's cut in there, which is already a pain, so probably not that one. That's not going to fit anything. Yeah, at this point I might just cut my losses and bust out my actual roll of foam, because it's going to be so much quicker than pissing about. And also I have so much of it, so I really shouldn't be worrying about it to the extent that I am. But in my defense, that's why I have so many extra materials kicking about, because I'm extremely fussy with conserving things. But at the same time, this is the roll of foam that I've got, so does it really matter? No. No, it doesn't. Oh, is that a separate one in there? Oh, it is. Okay. Well, then I'll just pull... Ah, alright, thanks, past me. Yep. Reasonable. Okay. Here's one that it would seem I'd cut into previously for patterning stuff. So, that's fine. I can use that. Right. I'm going to have to move my phone out the way. But also I don't really want it on camera, so I'll put it over here. Right. This is where things get a little bit tricky. Because how am I going to organise all this? I'm kind of not. So, focus, please. Pretty please. Thank you. Right. I don't want to get confused with where I'm at. So I want to be vaguely careful with each piece. And try and cut things out sensibly. But then as long as I stick the letter on them, I suppose I shouldn't get that confused. Because I can stick that one on there. And that takes up a good chunk of stuff. So I'll do that first. And then I will assemble all of the foam bits and see what I am able to adjust. Because I'm thinking I should start setting myself deadlines. Because I'm always really bad for timing things. But if I have a deadline, I'm much more likely to complete things in a more timely manner. So, that is... I don't even want to say it. That's just how poisoned I am by the internet. The point where you're writing numbers and cringing. That's where I'm at. So bad. Right. That is G. So that is then covered. Then, because none of these are mirrored, I only have to draw around all of these one time. I'm not flipping anything like I was with the last lot. So, yeah, I don't need to worry about that. That's fine. Right. Done that one. What other bits can I fit in places? Could fit that one up there. But then what am I really saving by doing that? Because I could just stick it along there. I don't think I'll have any bits that are small enough to fit up there, so that might just end up becoming a scrap of something. Unless there's something that follows a curve that I can take from there. Yeah, but then I'm just getting a dead zone here anyway. So I may as well stick with plan A and have that there, and then treat that chunk as one of my scraps. Also wondering whether I can get the camera at a slightly better angle. Because I feel like at the minute, that's better. Okay. Yeah, that's considerably better. Let's roll with that. Right. I'll stick this on here then. If I can get all of these bits cut out and stuck together, then I'll start messing with stuff. And try and get things into a more sensible shape. Good enough. Right, so I've done you two. What else can I fit on here? Maybe I can get something... that's not quite. Have I got any that are thinner? This looks thinner. It is. But also it cuts into that so much that do I even want to bother with that? Probably not. Okay. Well, I think what I'll do then is I'll cut those two out first. And then after that, I'll see where I'm at. I'm probably going to have to cut these stood up and away, just because there's so much extra foam. So, you know, just bear with me for a second. I'll try and be quick about it, but, you know, it's just a big reel. So, it is what it is, really. But I'm hoping that once I've dealt with the kind of troubleshooty side of things, it'll actually be quite a quick assembly. That'd be nice. Like, this is always the worst part, because this is the trial and error bit. And there is absolutely no way of knowing how often you're going to cock up. And I hate that. I'm someone that needs certainty. So I'm perpetually struggling with the initial aspects of a build. Like, I'm really good at the researching. That side of things is fun. I like that. I like learning stuff. But when it comes to actually doing things, Starting is always the worst, because there is too much ambiguity, there are too many unknowns, and I hate it. But once I'm past that point, and I've got a better idea of what's going on, then I'm fine. It's just having to get over that first hurdle, which is very much what this is. And I'd be lying if I said it wasn't made significantly worse, knowing that I'm broadcasting my fuck-ups. But it's done on purpose, with the intent of proving that none of these things are ever as easy as they are made to seem. And I have been very purposeful with my intent in practicing what I preach. So if I'm gonna keep meeting people at... Please focus. Thank you. If I'm gonna keep meeting people at various events and telling them to not be afraid of screwing stuff up and to just kind of wing it, then I want to prove that that is my existence, and that that is real, and that it is unfun, but also it's a requirement, so you just have to suck it up and get on with it, to be honest. I would much rather do all of this off-stream, but that defeats the purpose of the exercise, so I won't. At least not for now. It depends how much more I have to dick about with, and deadlines and stuff. But for as long as I can, I will continue to cock up unedited. That is the plan. Yeah, that'll work. Last week, not gonna lie, pretty rough. Trying to get everything set up and figure a routine and a schedule. What I tried to do in terms of scheduling really wasn't working. So this week is going to be a little different. I'm going to be trying to run things with a 6 AM start. That is the plan. A lot of it is going to hinge on whether the Wi-Fi allows me to do that. But I am in the process of trying to get hold of a new laptop, which should help out a whole bunch. Because the thing with the Wi-Fi is, like, my laptop just shits itself and dies. My phone's still connected, so it shouldn't be an actual Wi-Fi thing. I'm hoping it's more because my laptop is ancient and broken and needs replacing. So I'm working on fixing that. A mate of mine might be able to come through there. We'll see. But yeah, it's the trial and error. It's always the same old story. And it will forever be the bane of my existence. But it's also pretty outside of my control, really. Do I want to do that like that, or do I want to do it? I think I prefer doing it like that, because if that comes down to there anyway, then yeah, I'll do that. So yeah, I'm going to be aiming to start at 6 AM this week. I'm not sure which days I'm going to be running for. I want to get as many in as I possibly can, but also it's going to depend on other stuff that I've got going on in the background, because it's not just this that I have to get done in a day. And there are some fairly unfun bits and pieces that I'm having to contend with at the same time as this. So I will be here as frequently as I'm able, but if something crops up and I have to go deal with it immediately, then I will just have to do it when it happens. Like, there's not anything else I can do with that, really. But if I were to be optimistic, then I am aiming to be here most days this week. But it might be the case where it's sensible if I just make it like a 6 through 12 affair. Because at least then I've got a couple of hours in the afternoon to sort out other stuff if it's cropped up during the day. So, yeah. I'm kind of aiming as that being like my guarantee is the 6 through 12 most days. That's my current plan. I will have to see how that goes. But that is the aim as things stand. I think I'll try and follow along this edge. I think. That makes the most sense. Let's do that. I'm not going to be drawing the cat on the foam. That's not happening. The cat was a moment of lunacy, and I woke up a lot later this morning, So I took my meds a lot later, so I will definitely be surviving the stream without crashing the fuck out and drawing cats and shit. Cool. I wonder if any of those are thin enough to fit up in there. I mean, yeah, but I'll just continue along the edge, I think. Can I get this one in here? I can. Good. Then I will do that. And it's going to be a lot of, like, awkwardly hanging off the table for a while. So, might be. But I will try to be done with this as quickly as I can. Oh, wind's picking up outside. It is supposed to rain today. It was supposed to rain a few hours ago, but it hasn't. It'd be nice if it did, to be honest. I like the rain. But then it's also supposed to be getting hotter this week, so I think today is going to be the best day, and then it just gets progressively more shit from there. Which is funny, because I think the last couple of weeks it's been pretty decent weather-wise, and then just as MCM approaches, it starts to heat up, which is just the worst. And not gonna lie, when I saw that that was how the weather was gonna go, I was markedly less miffed over not going to MCM at the end of the week. Because last year I went to both MCMs, I believe. Yeah, I must have done. I mean, October was a definite, but I'm fairly sure I would have gone to both, because I usually do if I can. But yeah, now this year I was very much like, no, don't think I will. And then after I got my award for my that, I got a 3-day pass as part of the prize. So I just said, yo, can I postpone that till the October one? And they'd said that was fine, so That was awesome. So when I do go in October, I will be going for free. Ha ha ha. Not that I won't also be having to pay for the hotel and whatever else I decide to get while I'm there. But considering I've not been... Oh, you're back already? Jeez. What happened to 2 or 3? I feel lied to. Oh, right, okay. Cool. Great. So how are you, like... I see. Right. That's... Yeah, that's pretty grim. So, where are you currently? So you're at uni, but, like, are you just in, like, a common room or something? Just waiting, right? Cool. Well, I don't know. I could try to take your mind off things, or I could be extremely uncool, and I'm debating how uncool I get. Depends on how genuinely mortified you actually are. I think I've drawn around everything. E, C, D, E, F, and G and H already got, yeah. How genuinely, like, mortified you are about the mouse ordeal. Not particularly bothered because it's science. Okay. I just wasn't sure, you know, if I started making jokes about things, whether you'd be cheesed off. Because if you were going to be, like, actually bothered, then I promise you wouldn't hear a squeak out of me. Jesus, that got dark very quickly. Christ. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a yikes. I don't know how necessary that is, because I would imagine it depends on what you're studying. Because if you're injecting them with stuff, then, like, yeah, that then affects their chemistry, I guess. But I don't know. Yeah, that's my only assumption, as someone who is not of science. That's all I can think. I promise I will eventually have this all on the table and focused, but it's a big roll, so for now you can't really see shit, and I apologise. Please focus. Pretty please. Okay. What's time for another 2 days? Totally probably. Well, then how... I don't know. I don't miss uni. I really don't. It was not for me, if I'm honest. Everything was too ambiguous. Yeah, right? Not sure what you're meant to do with that. Yeah, that's fine. You can do whatever. I'll probably, like, still end up talking to you like you're here, and then clock that you're not. And then feel like a bit of a muppet, and then move on with my day. So can't say that's gonna affect a whole lot. It's pretty standard affair by now. Okay, fair. That's fine, you do whatevs. I'm gonna keep thinking of mouse puns. Actually, no, I'm not. I literally can't think of any. I also can't be asked. Harvesting the kidneys in the centre and the embryos. Okay. Interesting. Also, something about using the term harvesting is just inherently scuffed. I mean, that is a cool purpose. Yeah, well, these sciencey people are all freaks. So, what can I say? Well, I mean, that's, you know, not to be that guy. It's kind of what you signed up for, isn't it? It's like the people that go into nursing and then don't want to clean up shit and vomit. Don't know why this keeps pulling itself out of focus. It's bloody annoying. Yeah, okay, but also biology. So I would have assumed that that would come into it at some point. Because, like, when we did science in school, dissection was optional. Like, we could opt out if we wanted to. And at the time, I'd said, like, well, this doesn't seem very necessary, so I'm just gonna go ahead and not do that. And from everything that my mates who did take part had said, like, I made a good choice. Why is this camera being a dick? I swear, every time I get something working, something else stops. But there was another example of that in school. Okay, but I don't know. I think biology, and I think of things, you know, living things. I'm going to see if dropping this down is going to make it less of a bastard. Because it's being extremely obnoxious. We'll see. But yeah, I had a similar instance in school. Because there was... And I don't know whether this was anything that you ended up having to do as well. There was a point in history where we were studying the plague, and there was a video. And we had been warned by our history teacher that it was a very graphic video. going over all of the symptoms of the bubonic plague. And we were given the option to sit the lesson out, or we could go sit and watch. Yeah, autofocus, I don't know, because it's been fine before. It's just being, I mean, it's focused at the minute. I'm hoping it's because it was far away, but now it's closer, so it'll chill. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, so I did do history, and yeah, we were warned that, like, you know, you can always sit out the next hour or so, and me being me, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna brave it. I'm gonna brave it, because I'm no bitch, and I will just sit and see how it goes. Because, like, it's only one section of this history video, and watching a video for your lesson is always peak. So, oh, okay, fun. Yeah, no, I didn't have to do any of that. But yeah, I decided that I would sit in for this lesson, and then, you know, the video's ticking by, everything's fine, and then it gets to the dramatization, and I'm looking around the room, and even even the tough kids are looking a little bit nervous. So I hatched a scheme, and I'd decided, you know what? I don't actually need to watch this. I will just sit here, and I will look off to the side of the screen, and nobody will ever know. So that's what I did. I just looked at the wall next to the screen, and in my peripheral, like, I could see enough of what was happening to know that it was vile, but I also couldn't make out the specifics, so I was completely fine. And and partway through this dramatization, 2 different girls ran out of the room and threw up in the corridor. It was so funny. And by the time this video had finished, I was so smug, and I was so pleased with my genius at the time. And I'm looking around the room, and everyone is, like, white. They just look so ill. And we had lunch immediately afterwards. So I just went and sat and had my lunch very happily, whilst none of my fellow classmates were able to do so. And it was great. And everyone just assumed that I was a complete psychopath. But nope. I was just smart. That was it. Yeah, I don't know why they time things like that. That just seems really dense. Like, who thinks that's a good idea? Like, whenever it came to timetabling, I always used to take massive, massive issue whenever we had to go for, like, a PE class and then immediately go to a science lesson after that. Because they are in the opposite ends of the school grounds, and, like, also on opposite levels. So we'd have been out in the field in our PE kit, and then have to go back, get changed, and traipse to the other end of the school, and also up every flight of stairs that exists in the building. Like, why? And they'd always moan at us for being late. Like, no. No, we had PE immediately before this. You don't get to bitch at us for being late. This is not our fault. Okay. I mean, a mate of mine had her mum write her up a sick note that she just used for every single PE lesson. Like, she just refused to go. Which I respect, to be honest. I do respect it. Because PE was... in school, it was shit. Like, it was really, really shit. This autofocus is still being a dick, so I don't think it's a case of the level that it's at. I think it's just being a bastard, and I will just have to try and fix it. I'll add it to my list of things to change, because it's not been a massive problem until now, and I'm not sure why it's choosing to be a problem, but it really, really is. Will it sort itself out? No. Yes? Almost. This is so irritating. Aha! Ha 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 ha! Stay there. Right. Oh, maybe that'd help. Okay. Well, I can try... I've got lots of templates, so I can just stick one of those in front the next time it does it, and maybe that'll work. Right. On the plus side, I am missing A. Why am I missing A? How does that happen? I know I had it because I remember drawing around it, so how am I missing that? Has it ended up on the floor somewhere? No. How have I done that? Alright, well that's genuinely impressive. There's such a limited number of places that could be that I genuinely don't know where it's gone. Okay. Yeah, it will be the thigh piece. Thanks for letting me know you got a dip, though. I guess I'll just try and assemble the other bits, and then I'll eventually stumble across the one I'm missing. I don't know how I've done that. Oh well. Cool. Anyway. I know that these have to connect, so I can at least do that. B, C, D, E, F. Right. Glue. And where is... I need a scrap of kitchen roll, which will be in here. Yep, got it. Cool. Right, I'll glue these together and see how that goes. Assuming I can unclog the nozzle first. Just about. See how dried up this is. Because it's been a couple of days, so it's probably a little scuffed. But I'm sure I can make it work. I'll just get rid of the first little bit, because that will definitely be too dry. Yeah, that's extremely dry, jeez. Okay. How much more of this is going to be too dry? Okay, I think from here it's usable. So, I'll try. See how lucky I get. Right. Just whack some of this along this edge. It's still very dry. It might end up being a problem because the curve this is at. Like, it's going to need to stick, otherwise it will just come undone. So, let's see. I'm going to tape it anyway, but for the purpose of trying to figure how this is all going to be cobbled together, I want it to be at least a little accurate. And then I'll eventually concede and just go get the new tube. Because that one does have a lid on it still. So that one I don't have to worry about it drying out. But this one I absolutely do. Okay. I'll see if that works. It might not. Oh well. Realistically, I'm not that phased. Yeah, I'm not holding out a hell of a lot of hope for this one. I think it might just not stick. There's a patch there that's just not even. There we go. Yeah, it might just not work. But whatevs. I've got tape, so I can just use tape. Also, going to open the door, because, you know, glue fumes. I've got windows open, but as long as the noise of the wind isn't too irritating. I'll give it a crack. Right. Now, let's see if I can get this to work. Now, it's on a weird curve, so if I can get a bit of paper in between, I think that is going to be sensible. Cool. Right, I'll match it up at that join, like that, and then try to marry it up along that edge till it reaches that join, and then also want it to meet in at that join, and go down something like that. Okay. Yeah, that's so not going to hold. That's fine. That's what the tape is for. I'll break out all the nice stuff when I'm doing this properly. I am, however, going to count that as cope. Anyway. Right. Try and get this bit stuck on. If I'm lucky. it's going to be fairly tedious. So I guess I'm just vibing for a while. But if I can get all of this assembled and figured out before lunch, and that is a plus. And then I'd like to go and spend some time this afternoon gathering more references, because I'm in need of some more specifics, really. Like, I've got a couple images on my phone to go by, but nowhere near what I'd usually have gathered before starting something. I just decided to try a different approach and jump straight in. Because I'm trying to have this be a project that I'm not, like, sweating over. But that in itself, that as, like, the original intent was hard cope. The hardest of hard copes. Because there is absolutely no way that I will not end up sweating over this regardless. I can't help it. It is just physically ingrained within me to cope and to try hard. I will never escape it, no matter how hard I try. So looks like it's raining finally, which is nice. But hopefully it doesn't end up blowing in here, because I do have all the doors and windows open. And that'd be a little bit annoying. I'll give it a second. So, while I'm thinking about that, where did I put my pen? It's here, okay. Yeah, it is raining. Awesome. Cool, cool. Right. While that's chilling for a second, I'm going to consider how I want to get things together when it comes to it. Because the plan... Actually, that looks like it's almost there. So the plan is, as far as assembling things, there are a couple of different ways that I can go about it. I know which I'm leaning towards, but it's going to depend on several factors. So there's... The first method would be that you have... So let's say you have your shin piece at the front, and then you've got the calf piece for the back. So the first way would be to have one of them slot directly on top of the other. So that piece would go on first, this would then go on top of that, and then you'd have some kind of means of fastening it on here that it can just click into. But there's also another way of approaching it, wherein you have both of those pieces already stuck to a tube of fabric. So if they are then already attached to that and that stretches, as long as you leave a gap between those two pieces, you can have it all slide on and off in one, and there is no fastening. It just becomes a sock, basically. And that's the one that I'm leaning toward, because that just makes everything easier for everyone, really. But it does mean that there is the chance that you end up with a little gap showing between the two pieces at the end. That is a possibility. But it depends how closely you're able to match everything to the end user. So I'm hoping that because I'm a tryhard, I can have everything fit to her pretty accurately, and then I can just use the sock method, and I don't have to worry about any fastenings particularly. Not that it would matter if I did, but it would just be easier to get on and off. So it's the one that I'm leaning towards, really. I also realised that because I was having the camera front-facing earlier, it's been viewing everything upside down this whole time. So, my bad. I will see if I can spin it around without causing too much grief. There we go, right. Focus? Nice. Pretty much. Cool. Okay. I'm a professional. So, I'll do the next piece. But yeah, that's how I want to attach everything, is with one tube that you just slide on and off. That would be the ideal. But I will have to see what I can get away with. And I do have a method for making sure that the armour pieces are placed correctly on the tube. It's a little bit scuffed, but I've done it before. I did it for King Crimson, and it definitely works. So, because the thing with stretch fabric is, obviously, it warps, because it needs to, because that's how stretching works. And for the purpose of having something you can slide on and off, it's great. However, when you're sliding something on and off that is rigid, it will inevitably end up breaking something somewhere. Like, it'll be really hard to position things, and things can snap off. So I have a method for getting the exact placement and having it so that it won't end up coming away from the fabric. Because if you just slap a load of glue on the back of an entire piece and whack it on a bit of fabric, and do the same with the back, and then say you had like you allowed a tiny little gap so that the fabric can stretch. There is so much glue on there that is so rigid, and the fabric will want to stretch. So where it can stretch, it will, and it will just bust the glue apart. Like, that is just how that will go, and then your piece will come off. So my method is that I will wear the stretch of fabric that I'm using as a sock, and then underneath that I will slide a piece of grease-proof paper, like baking paper. Like if you're baking a cake, you stick it in the tin, right? That. I'll slide that underneath, so that is against my skin and then the fabric. Then I'll take the armour piece that I want to stick to my sock, and I will put a blob of hot glue onto it and then press it onto the sock. It gets a little toasty, I'm not gonna lie, but the grease-proof paper means that you can just slide it off out the way again and nothing is fused to your skin. But it is fused to the fabric, and hot glue sticks to fabric really, really well. Like, obscenely well. And because it's only like a little blob, all the fabric around that can still stretch, so it's not putting any tension on that glue spot. And then I'll just do that along the whole, like, edge at different points, and then that holds it in place without having to worry about it coming off at any point. And it's extremely effective, and I used it for King Crimson. I also used it for my first ever armour set, which was my Samus cosplay. And yeah, it's incredibly effective. So that's how I would like to end up having these bits joined, is with that same method. But it's going to depend on how ballsy my friend is feeling. Because otherwise I can just, like, handle this with standard fastenings. Like, that's not a problem. But I would definitely prefer if I could whack it all on a sock. That would be nice. I might be able to get away with doing these two as one piece. Thinking ahead. So actually, I might make a note of that. I'm sure I'll remember what that random line means. Okay. Cool. So yeah, I've been thinking about how I'm going to put all of this together. And my aim is very much to make this as easy as possible. But also as comfortable as possible. Because I remember from my Samus cosplay how deceptive foam armour is. Like, you assume that it's going to feel really nice. And to start with, it absolutely does. But then you get into the convention centre and it's always warm. And the amount of sweat that collects on foam armour is ungodly. Which is why I'm also thinking that having this on a fabric sock would be quite nice, because it's just an extra barrier. I mean, if I wanted to be real fancy with it, I could even play it so that the thighs are part of the same sock and just have it all mounted on a set of leggings. That's doable. I'll have to see how things sit when I get to it. Because there are 1,000,001 different ways of attaching all the panels. And there's not necessarily one way that's better than the others. It will come down to time for a lot of it, really. How long it'd take me to engineer it. And that's the thing with the sock method, is that it's really quick. Like, I don't have to worry about how I'm gonna fix everything together and how I'm gonna stop it from sliding. Like, it will all hold itself up. So that's then not an issue. With the legs, you can get away with it. With arms, not so much. Because, you know, sliding things over your head, shoulders exist, and it gets complicated. So arms, I would recommend a lot less. With legs, it depends how tight everything is to your ankles, because you still have to get your feet through. And if you've got tiny feet, and she does have tiny feet, then you might be okay. But if you've got fairly broad feet, then it's just not going to work. So, yeah. I'll have to think about it. But then again, if I've got the gap and I allow a little bit of stretch, it won't be so bad. But I will have to see. What I'll probably end up doing is gluing it at one edge, and then having it come round to fasten at the other edge. Because then the stretch side of it really doesn't matter. And it's still being held at one point, so it's not going to slide anywhere. Because that's always something that I notice in foam armour, is whenever you have pieces that are loose and they just slide about, like, that upsets me. So it's something that I'm quite fussy with. And I reckon that might be my best of both worlds solution, is to roll with the sock method, glue one edge, wrap it round and fasten it at the other edge. That's probably going to work out best. Yeah. I hope I remember that. Because knowing future me, probably not. It's getting there. I'll just help it along a little bit. In fairness, I should get some more tape. Sweet. That's pretty much holding itself, but even so, we'll whack a couple of these in there. Just to be sure. I didn't do any on this one. There. Better than nothing. Right. Yeah. Okay, it's looking pretty leg-like, so I'm cool with that. Once I've got this together, something that I want to faff with is the uppermost edge, because it's really going to matter how close everything cuts into the groin, because that is going to be extremely limiting if it's too high. So what I'll probably do is take that down pretty low. And that's really where it'd be nice to be able to try this on my mate directly, to see how low I want to cut it. But for now, I will just guess. And then when I see her next, I can try all the pieces on and see what I need to change. Now, while that's doing its thing, maybe I should look for that one piece that I am missing, somehow. And I know for a fact that I cut it, because I remember very, very distinctly marking all of the little arrows and stuff on it. So I know it exists, but I don't know where it went. I didn't put it in my scraps bag. No, definitely didn't. Because that's the kind of thing that I would absolutely do. Didn't put it in the bin, because that's something else that I would do. No. Definitely not. I'd assumed it was going to get caught under here, but it doesn't look like it has. Okay. So, on the plus side, I was right. I did draw it out. I just never cut it. Even for me, that is fairly impressive. So I'm going to cut that out really quickly while this is drying down a bit. That's pretty good. I think I have set a new standard. Honestly, I'm struggling not to be impressed with that. That is a new one. Because misplacing stuff is my usual. But that's impressive. Right. How dry are you? Not quite. I'll just speed it up a bit. It's getting there. Right, by the time I've got some more tape, it's probably going to be fine. Kind of want to roll this back up anyway, so... I mean, I'm definitely going to need it. I'll just move out of the way. Cool, right. Yep, I choose to believe that's fine. So... let's see. Line you up. And from here, I think I can just be careful, he says. Yeah, careful enough. Cool. Right. Just a couple more pieces, and then I will have something that I can... Please focus, thank you. I'll have something that I can look at and chop about. This focus is going to be the death of me. I swear, this has only just started becoming an issue, and I'm not sure why. So I'll try and keep on top of it, but if I miss something at some point, just yell at me. Because I'll eventually see it. Okay. I'm glad I numbered all the edges, because I would absolutely forget where I am. Also worth noting that because I just hacked at this with scissors and basically just held it all in midair, the angle that I've cut these at is kind of scuffed. So when they go together, they're not going to go together perfectly. And for this, that doesn't matter. Which is why I did it. When I cut the real things, I will absolutely be doing it with a box cutter properly. But for now, nah. As long as they slot together like as I'm expecting them to, then it is what it is. I just want to have a thing that I can then draw on and cut about to map out the end result. It's not far off, but I'll give it a second. And that reminds me, I also kind of want to have this put back together so that I can draw on the calf piece and figure that one out as well. So, yeah, I think I'll do that too. But I'm going to need a lot of pretty decent references for that. So once I've got this assembled, I'll sketch in where I think I'm going to have to cut away up into the groin, and then I will go and gather a load of sources. Why are you doing this? Okay. I'll go and gather a load of sources and have a mess about, just kind of sketching things and seeing how I want to cut it all. I think I can do this one without. Cool, good enough. Nice. And then it's just the last piece. Huzzah! How on earth is that meant to go together? Oh well, I'll find out. I'm going to find a way of turning off autofocus. I'm adding it to my to-do list. It's been so obnoxious this whole time. I swear, every time I get one thing to work, something else decides it's no longer okay. And I'll fix autofocus, and then the bitrate will tank again. I'm calling it. Make sure I'm doing the right edge. It is this one. while I'm waiting for this one to dry, I think I will also put glue on the calf pieces, because that seems like a good use of my time. Because what I want to have is that central one in. So maybe what I'll do then is cut this to match that in the first instance, because that's where the knee's going to slot in. Cool. Then I want to join this up the middle, because the sides are where it's going to be open. Yeah, it'll trust me, it'll make sense when I can actually fit it in frame. But I'll glue it first. And then by the time I've done this, that one should be ready to go, and then I can swap them out. What is the time? 20 to 11-ish. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. Should be able to get all of this knocked over. Yeah. And then I'll do a bunch of research, because a lot of this is going to be dictated by, well, source material to a point, but also whatever my mate wants out of this. Because a lot of aspects of this armour set are consistent, but also there's a whole bunch of variation. So I need to know the specifics that I'm working to. Because when she came over initially and I pitched this to her, I just handed her the booklet from my Adeptus Sororitas battle set and was like, look, just here's a red marker, circle all of the things you like. So I have that. But I want to double check with some of the, like, real specifics. I will say, both she and her husband were extremely stoked over that as a premise. Like a build-your-own cosplay booklet. So, that was fun. Do I risk this? Don't think I do. I think this one's a bit tricky. Because I'm now at the point where holding things is hard. That'd be easier if I do it from here. less concerned with. So that was scuffed from the tape. So I'll just leave that as is. Yeah, that's better. Cool. Right. And then for safety's sake, it's that mumbling thing again. Every time. When will I learn? For safety's sake, I'm going to put some tape in here also. Cool. Alright, so I then have the thigh piece assembled, which is pretty epic. And I want to get the calf piece in place, but it's still a little bit wet. So I'll give it a sec. And in the meantime, I will try and tape the last bit of the calf together, just to hold it in the right position. Or something vaguely akin to the right position. Cool. So there is a foam thigh. It's hard to get everything in frame, but you get the idea. It is a thing. So, let me assemble the calf also while I'm here. That should be dried enough. I don't have anything that I'm matching this up with. So I'm going to go from the top, because that's where I matched that cut for the knee. Then I'm going to hope that it allows me to join everything. There's a little gap in there, but whatever. There won't be in the final piece, so I'm not phased, to be honest. But I will tape that up to keep it from separating, because there's a fair amount of faff that I'm going to have to do with this. Cool. Come on, focus. Focus on the thing, please. I'm also conscious of my stream preview glitching out, so I wonder whether the internet is dying again. It might be. Cool. Anyway, please focus. I'm going to throw everything out the window. It's refusing. Why is it refusing? Okay, let me try and fix this, because it's pissing me off now. I'm going to Google how to fix this, because I don't know. Oh, now you're going to focus, because I threatened you. I don't care, I'm still going to fix it. How to turn off autofocus. Yeah. Oh, okay. It's that easy. Well, then I'm definitely going to do that. Except it won't let me. How? Why is the box greyed out? Yeah. Focus setting, but it... Okay, right, there we go. Apply. Now it's all really out of focus, though. So can I fix that? No. All right, let me figure this out. It must be as part of the same... Oh, everything's crashed. Okay. Cool. I have no access to my cursor. Well, guess I'm just hanging out for a while. I'd ask how everyone's doing, but I can't see chat. Not really sure what to do about that. Yeah. Well, on the plus side, I am definitely getting a new laptop. Can I just go... Nope. Can I Control Delete? Aha, there's my cursor. Gotcha, right. Okay. Right, well my preview exists, so I guess it's still running, even though OBS isn't, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, I can see my stream preview, so I suppose I'm just gonna have to shut this down. I will spend a bunch of time trying to fix the focus on the camera, and hopefully by the time I rock back up again, I will be in a slightly better position. Who knows? Cool. I'm gonna go faff with a load of settings and try and get this ironed out to some extent, because it's really, really frustrating. But I will keep banging my head against this wall. I will not stop. So I'm just gonna strap on a hard hat and get on with it. So I'm going to force quit OBS and hope that the stream dies with it. So I'll catch you guys when I am in a considerably better position.